The advertisement Langit was produced by AirAsia in 2018 to celebrate the Gawai and Keamatan Festival in East Malaysia. Instead of focusing on selling airline tickets, the advertisement tells an emotional story about family, culture, and identity. It was inspired by a real social enterprise in Sarawak called Langit, which promote local craftsmanship and support communities. The film shows how many East Malaysians try to preserve their cultural heritage even after moving to urban areas. Overall, the advertisement conveys message of unity, belonging, and cultural pride while strengthening AirAsia's image as a brand that connects Malaysians. The advertisement Langit tells the story of a father named Langit who works hard to create a better life for his family while staying true to his cultural roots. As he grows older, his sons inherit his values and dreams. The sons then continue his father's journeys and achieve even greater success. The film shows that true success is not only about money, but also about carrying forward family values, cultural heritage, and personal ambitions. This emotional father and son story makes the advertisement relatable and inspiring to many viewers. The advertisement highlights Gawai and Keamatan, which are important harvest festivals celebrated in Sarawak and Sabah. These festivals are traditionally used to give thanks for a successful harvest and are celebrated through family gathering, cultural rituals, traditional dance, music, and food. Today, many East Malaysians live and work in city, so these festivals have become more than just harvest celebrations. They also represent cultural identity, family bonds, and a connection to one's roots. Through Langit, AirAsia shows how people can continue to value and preserve their cultural heritage even while living in a modern society.
Imagine sacrificing everything to save your people from starvation. This is the heart of Pesta Keamatan, a month-long celebration observed by the Kadazan Dusun people of Sabah. Legend tells of the goddess Huminodun, who sacrificed herself so her body could transform into food for her starving people. Today, her spirit, known as Babazon, is believed to live within the rice grains. Every May, high priestesses, called Bobohizan, perform secret rituals to guide these rice spirits safely home. The festival culminates in the famous Untuk Ngadau culture pageant, where young women are crowned not just for their beauty, but to honor the ultimate grace, bravery, and kindness of Huminodun. Keamatan is more than a harvest festival. It is a profound celebration of life, gratitude, and remembrance.
In Sarawak, community isn't just a concept, it's a shared roof. Every 1st of June, the Dayak people celebrate Hari Gawai, a vibrant festival that honors the ultimate strength of togetherness. Life centers around the longhouse, where dozens of families share a single massive porch called the Rai. The celebration begins with wine unto Ra, a ritual to sweep away the spirit of bad luck from the past year, followed by the kneeling ceremony to offer food and gratitude to the ancestors. But the true heartbeat of Gawai is Ngabang. This is the ultimate open house where neighbors walk from door to door, sharing laughter, traditional dances, and glasses of tuak, locally brewed rice wine. Hari Gawai reminds us that when we live, share, and celebrate as one big family, no one stands alone. Both Keamatan and Gawai bring their stories to life through an incredible explosion of rhythm, movement, and flavor. In Sabah, the celebration takes flight with the Sumatau dance, where dancers mimic the graceful flight of eagles to the hypnotic beat of traditional gongs. On the table, you will find hidawang, a sharp, refreshing dish of fresh fish curled beautifully with lime and ginger. Cross over to Sarawak, and the NG transform. Here, the Ngajat dance showcases the fluid, fierce grace of warrior. Moving to the hauntingly beautiful melodies of the sape, a traditional wooden lute, the star of the feast is manok paso, tender chicken and aromatic herbs stuffed into a bamboo stalk and slow cooked over an open fire for a rich, smoky taste. Different rhythms, different flavors, but the exact same spirit of cultural pride.
So now I'm going to present the highlight of this slide. So a Malaysian Chinese sundry shops acting as a visual social culture hubs. Here we see an indigenous farmer selling rice to a Chinese shopkeeper, showcasing inter-ethnic interactions in action. These critical interpretations challenge to traditions, ethnic segregation stereotypes. It proved that the Gawai and Keamatan spirit extends far beyond seasonal festive, embedding everyday economics interdependence into the very fabric and these communities. So now let's move on to the next slide. So this slide we observe a powerful visual contrast between the AirAsia logo. It represents modernity and global reach. Also, the Beras Kuching rice bag, which symbolize local traditions and labor. These identity constructions root a massive global brand directly into local soil, creating a strong sense of place. Ultimately, it shows how modernity and traditions can coexist, allowing a modern corporations to preserve regional heritage while presenting it proudly to a global audience. Okay, now we explore the technological adaptations within traditional landscape. Visually, the yellow truck against the golden rice field symbolize nature bounty meetings, modern interventions. Functionally, this vehicle bridge remote harbors to urban market, linking the periphery directly to the center. These three traditions and modernizations into perfect harmony, illustrating that the festival is a living, adaptive practice that reflects East Malaysia resilience amid globalizations. The characters and attire shows Christopher Dunn and local villagers gathered together in simple sarongs and cotton t-shirts, practical wear for the tropical field. The act of rising bamboo cups or bulu symbolize deep respect for nature and sustainability. The shared post unites and a Chinese entrepreneur and indigenous farmer, beautifully embodying the Gawai and Kamatan spirits of a communal harmony and unity in diversity.
First visual analysis that I choose is a child running in the paddy field. This scene shows a young boy running freely through a paddy field surrounded by nature. It symbolizes the strong connection between the younger generation and the land, reflecting how agriculture is deeply rooted in Malaysian culture. The child represents the future, suggesting that agricultural values and practice are passed down from an early age. This is closely related to the Harvest Festival as it highlights the importance of nurturing a new generation that appreciates and continues agricultural traditions. Visual analysis is parents walking in the rice field. The image of the parents walking in the paddy field wearing traditional attire such as a farmer's hat represents the identity of Malaysian farmers and the rural kampong lifestyle. It emphasizes values like hard work, perseverance, and self-sufficiency, which are essential in agricultural communities. This scheme reflects the cultural appreciation for farmers whose efforts are the foundation of food production in the context of the Harvest Festival. It symbolizes gratitude and respect for those who contribute to the harvest. Visual analysis that I choose is map with langit and distribution lines. The map featuring the Langit brand and multiple connection lines represent the modernization of agriculture in Malaysia, where agriculture is rooted in tradition. This scheme shows how it has evolved into a structure and connect industry, linking different regions through distribution networks. Langit, as a local agricultural company, symbolizes national identity and economic growth. This connects to the Harvest Festival by showing that harvest is not only about producing crops, but only about sharing and distributing them across communities. Visual analysis is the father handing rice to his son. This scene captures a meaningful moments where a father hands over rice to his son, symbolizing the passing down of knowledge, responsibility, and cultural values. Rice, as a staple food in Malaysia, represent life sustenance and cultural identity. The interaction between fathers and son highlights the importance of family and intergenerational continuity. In relation to the Harvest Festival, it reflects the idea that harvesting is not only about present but also about preserving tradition and ensuring their continuation into the future.
First, let's look at media representation versus real-life practices. While the film portrays this exchange as a smooth, symbolic continuity of generation, the reality is much harsher. Rural agricultural communities are currently facing several challenges, such as an aging workforce and declining youth participation, which threaten the sustainability of these traditional practices. Next, regarding traditional versus modern adaptation, the scene showcases face-to-face trust, yet use a modern commercial film to transform local practices into a global narrative. Finally, the cultural meaning of langit, meaning sky, contrasts with a grounded setting. It reminds us that progress should elevate tradition, not replace it. Moving on to our next slide for critical analysis. First, let's examine media representation versus real life practices. The film analysis is face-to-face rights exchange as a seamless from transmission of cultural heritage and trust between generations. In reality, however, traditional small-scale local grain trades are heavily disrupted by large-scale modern logistics, leaving independent local merchants vulnerable to intense corporate competition. Next, looking at traditional versus modern adaptation. The scene highlight a traditional form of exchange via direct interaction. The physicality of the heavy rice sack emphasizes labor-intensive processes and small-scale trade, which serve as a baseline contrast with modern distribution. Finally, the cultural meaning of handing over the rice symbolizes the transfer of responsibility and trust, showing that the harvest value extends far beyond economic worth to represent identity and share meaning between generations. Now, let's look at the critical analysis for this slide. First, regarding media representation versus reality, the film uses a wide-angle area shot to present the paddy field as vast and visually idyllic. While beautiful, it overlooks the practical challenge faced by farmers, such as geographical isolation and the difficulty of transporting goods to urban markets. Next, the agricultural landscape itself reflects traditional farming, but the use of modern drone cinematography reframes it as valuable cultural heritage for global audience. Finally, this expensive grain field symbolizes fertility and abundance. In the context of Gawa and Kaamatan, it reinforces the spiritual importance of agriculture, helping community identity closely to the land. First, regarding media representation versus reality, the media portrays this gathering as a moment of harmony and unity. In reality, however, such reunions are often temporary as many younger individuals migrate to urban centers for economic opportunities, gradually weakening rural community structures. Next, looking at traditional versus modern adaptation, this scene reflects the traditional practice of sharing tuak or rice wine during harvest festivals. The modern adaptation is shown through the younger generation returning from urban areas in contemporary clothing, adapting rituals to mobile lifestyles. Finally, the act of drinking together symbolizes equality, kinship, and cohesion, reinforcing the communal values of Gawa and Kaamatan. First, regarding media representation versus reality, the image of a child running evokes nostalgia, portraying rural life as joyful. In reality, however, the connection between youth and agriculture is declining as education and urban employment become the primary pathways for social mobility. Next, while the setting represents traditional life, the child symbolizes modern aspiration, reframing the harvest as nurturing dreams in a globalized world. Lastly, the child represents the future. In Gawa and Kamatan, the harvest sustains generation, preserving cultural identity through growth. Moving on to the critical analysis for this slide. First, the media portrays farmer as dignified custodian of tradition. In reality, however, small-scale farmers face unpredictable weather, fluctuating prices, and limited technology, making their livelihoods deeply uncertain. Next, looking at traditional versus modern adaptation. Traditional elements are clear in the manual tools and attire, like the woven head or terenda. The modern adaptation lies in how the film elevates farmer into symbolic cultural representative within a contemporary branding narrative. Finally, the film emphasizes that rice is not just a commodity, but a spiritual symbol key to Gawa and Kaamatan. Thank you. Moving on to the critical analysis for this slide. First, regarding media representation versus reality, the media present this global export process as smooth and efficient. In reality, however, local farmers face several logistical challenges, such as regulatory barriers, high transportation costs, and limited access to export markets, which complicate this transition. Next, the visual highlight the transformation of traditional harvest practice into a modern global distribution system. By using a flat map, the film reinterprets local agricultural products as part of an international network. Finally, the map redefines Langit, or skies, as a bridge rather than a boundary, positioning local farmers as valuable contributor to the global economy. Finally, let's wrap up with a critical analysis on our last slide. First, regarding media representation versus reality, the media portrays this moment as a successful validation of the younger generation efforts. In reality, however, the commercialization of traditional products may create tension, as some communities view it as a shift away from ancestral values. Next, this scene represents the combination of modern adaptation, where traditionally harvested rice is transformed into professionally branded packaging. It beautifully reflects a global approach, combining local cultural essence with global marketing strategies. Ultimately, this exchange symbolizes cultural continuity, proving that progress and tradition can coexist in a changing world. Thank you.